Today was all about managing productivity. I'll just start that again then. Today was all about managing productivity and priorities in an hour. Okay. So what does that do for you? You know, and my real think is, well, the real reason why most people join an event like this is everything feels important. They feel snowed under. They might be stuck with procrastinating, not getting things done, or they have team members that are stuck. So what I want to do in the next hour is this. I want to make sure that I've helped everyone here and for them to share it around their mindsets. In order to be productive and prioritize, you have to look at things a little differently in today's changing world. So there is a successful way of setting yourself up, and I'll look at that. Then I'll look at, well, what's the practical tools that you can use? Okay, mindset, practical tools. And lastly, if making prioritization actions apply at work. So everything we do today, you're going to start using this afternoon, guarantee it. What I've also done is not everyone's alike. We've got a lot of people on the session today. So I've allowed some time at the end for Q&A. So I'm really interested in your questions. I will give you my best view on that. So I just want to make sure that we hit that for you. Okay, so that's the flow. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that everyone that attends gets the free DISC assessment. So what that means is you will get an email from my organization, TTI, and we will email you not only the deck from today, we'll email your own code. And Tamika has all your email addresses, so we won't have to do that right here. I'll gather that and make sure you get that. Be warned though, the window is 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in order to complete that DISC profile. After that, the code expires, okay, it disappears. So make sure you do it as soon as you can. It should only take 15 minutes or so. And the beauty of it is that DISC has been totally upgraded, and DISC is a communication styles questionnaire. So you have your own online portal. So you'll be able to go in, you'll be able to view your scores, and it actually goes a lot further than just getting a physical report at the end of the day. So I just wanted to say that before we get started. Okay, all right, enough of the chit chat. Enough of the chit chat. Some people are really excited by the looks of your chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So imagine this, yeah, at the end of this hour, after 1 o'clock, doesn't matter whether you've been doing your role for 1 week or 37 years, I guarantee that you will have suggestions and processes you could put into practice straight away that's going to make you more productive, more prioritized by the end of the day. That's an absolute guarantee. Okay, so if you're ready, we'll take a little walk along that road. First thing I'd like to do is I'd love you all to go to the chat and let's have a little think about this. Yeah, so no one ever asked me to coach them about their productivity and prioritization because it was going very well. You can imagine that. People don't come to me and then say, oh, my prioritization is going really well. There are usually barriers, or there's usually something getting in the way. Okay, so this is just a quick exercise to address that. Once you've started thinking about that, then you can work on fixing it. So into the chat, I'd love everyone just going to chat, one word that you think that describes for you what gets in the way of prioritization. Okay. All right. If you had to pick one word, what would it be? Email. Yep. Email's one of the biggest pieces. If you don't control your email, it controls you. It's just a convenient place for other people to dump their priorities on you. Email. Okay. We've got distractions, definitely. The phone. I've got my phone right here. My first tip to you of the day is, if you have a phone and you have a tendency to pick it up all the time, is to put it just outside of arm's length on your desk so you can still see it, but you'd have to get up and get it. So then your brain makes a choice. Am I going to get up and get that, or am I going to carry on with my work? First tip of the day. Brilliant. We've got loads of stuff. Yeah, meetings that weren't on the calendar. Yeah. There's stuff that we can't, especially in a role like yours, Tamika, very client facing, right? So there's a lot of that, piece going on. Short staff, yeah. What comes first? Okay, so for all of you, you've got different reasons that's getting in the way of prioritizing successfully. So make sure you keep a note of that, because your strategies should be focused on that. There is no one great strategy that's just going to work for everybody. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the way the training's sold. It's sold Dave Allen, getting things done. Yeah, it's sold, oh, you follow this and you'll be cured. That's not true. You need to have, first thing you need to do is understand what's going on in your world. Yeah. Think about all of those pieces you've got. If you're more client facing, you need to have a different strategy than someone who's left on their own doing a lot of research. Yeah, they're different strategies. So what I'm going to do is share with you some of those thoughts, and then you pick and choose what works for you. You try some out and you evolve that. Okay, so thank you for doing that. We've got quite a few there. Lovely. Okay. So going along that line of identifying what's my reality when it comes to managing my productivity and prioritization, I've got a question for you. And this one, the size of the group, I think we could actually just, hang on a minute, let me just stop sharing for a minute. Here we go. If you could put yourselves, if you know how to do this, you click in the right-hand corner, there's a button called View. And then if you click on the grid button, the gallery button, and you can expand it out, if it's not already expanded out on your view, you can play with it any way you like. You will be able to see all of your wonderful fellow attendees. Yeah, look at that. Would you like to wave to each other for just a minute? Hi, how you doing? Betsy's not waving. No, she's a little upset, but that's okay. Just kidding. Double wave. All right. So if you can, I'd love for you to come on the screen. All right. Show us a little bit of love. If you can't, that's fine. Not a problem. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. We got two in one area there. Okay. So what I'd like to do is to ask you this question, is thinking about how are we measured, right? How are we measured? What are we rewarded for at work? Yeah. What's our job description? What's our objectives? So I'd love to just get from a couple of you, you want to raise your hand, or if you just want to come off of mute, raise your hand, give me a tick, something like that, and I'll come to you as I'm looking at this big screen with all these people on it. Yeah. How are you measured? If you just take a moment to think about that. How are you measured? And I'd love to have a volunteer, or I'm going to voluntold. I'm not shy. I'll pick on someone who's smiling and looking beautiful at me. Ray's doing that right now. Look at that beautiful smile. Jen, thank you for being the first volunteer. A round of applause for Jen, everybody. Look at that. Brilliant. Tell me a little bit about how you're measured in your role. Just to kick us off, please.
Yeah, so for us, we're a residential group home for folks living with mental illness. So a big measure for us is how many beds are filled, and the bottom line being black. That's huge. It's just trying to maintain that budget and maintain our service lines.
Okay, so making sure you've got optimizing the bed use, right, and making sure you do that within the budget. Sounds quite technical. Sounds a little bit of accounting, doesn't it, to everybody, right? Okay, great. I'll take one more. Thank you, Jen, for going first. I'm going to take one more. Who would like to volunteer? How are they measured from their point of view?
I'll volunteer, Denise Daview. I would say the board of directors closely follows my work, as well as how well the agency, the different services we offer, how they are hitting their metrics, whether they be internal or external.
Okay, Yeah. So very specific, very measurable. Yeah. Jill, what do you want to throw in?
I'm in fundraising, so it's dollars raised.
Right. Yes. It's dollars percentage. Where are we against last year, last quarter? What's the forecast? All this lovely stuff. Now I've made you depressed. I'll just go back to the slides just for a moment. Let's reshare that. 1 minute. Okie dokie. Right, there you are. Beautiful slides. Okay. So, yeah, we're measured for a couple of things, which doesn't help us when it comes to prioritization and productivity. Okay. We are measured on our expertise, how accurate we are, budgeting, all those wonderful things, and avoiding risk for the organization. All right. So, you know, in the nonprofit space, that means utilizing the budget of being seen to utilizing the funds well. Okay. Avoiding risk if you're in development, Jill just mentioned that, is not running out of money. Yeah. Or working out how can we actually pay for these things. And I've built this just for you actually for today. And I've come up with an acronym of how we are measured, and we are measured because of ER. Okay, ER is our form of measurement. Everybody say it with me now. 1, 2, 3. ER. Yeah. ER. Great.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. Brilliant. Thank you. Because that's how we're paid, isn't it? That's how our objectives are set. That's how we're measured. But it has nothing to do with prioritization. And it doesn't help us in that way. In a way, we have to take a bit of a jump. And that's why I talk about mindset first. We have to take a jump from being a know-it-all. So we know where everything is, we've planned everything out as much as possible, thought about all the dangers, got everyone else to work towards their piece of the puzzle. So it's going from a know-it-all. Okay, but we need to get to a learn it all. And what I mean by a learn it all is someone who's open to, okay, what's on my plate? I need to be a bit creative. I need to be a bit innovative in order to achieve this. And I've got to have some good tools to help me get there. Yeah, this is a lot of the work. It's a bit like when you see a swan or a duck on the river or on the pond. All the work is happening underneath. You can't see it. Yeah. And we don't get measured on that unless it all doesn't work. And then we're seen, you know, well, you can't manage the role, then, you know, that causes issues as well. So getting to a learn it all requires a different mindset. It requires 3 mindsets: a growth mindset, a control mindset, and a routine mindset. There are 3 ways of thinking about your work as you come in the morning, as well. I'm hoping to stop you from thinking about it late at night as well. Okay. But as you reach the end of your work day, whenever that is. Okay. And those 3 are absolutely vital. So I ask you really, pop it into chat. What do you think a growth mindset is? Do you have a definition for a growth mindset? Let's pick the broadest one first. Yeah. If you jump onto chat and pop in there, what are your thoughts? What do you think a growth mindset is? Strategic, yeah, willing to change, constant improvement, open to new ideas, open to all possibilities. Yeah, wow. A lot of you do know these are all great definitions. Okay. What it is, and people express this, yeah. So what it is being open to, well, that's interesting. Why isn't that working? Is to keep us moving forward. It's somebody who feels that they can still learn, that they can still improve. Now, a fixed mindset is, or an absolute mindset is the opposite, and that's a lot easier to see. Yeah, people often say well, I can't do that. Oh, I've never been any good at that. Yeah, that's an example of someone being in a fixed mindset about their skill only goes to a certain level. So with prioritization and productivity, we need that mindset that we can get better at this, because otherwise we just freeze, we're stressed, and we get stuck in procrastination. So an open mindset. So thank you. These are all great on here. These are good. And then a control mindset is the belief that you can actually control your work. And when I'm coaching people, I can tell whether people feel that or not. If somebody doesn't feel like it, they're like, well, they blame everybody else and every other thing. I can't possibly have an impact because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But someone who has a more control is like, well, I realize I don't have overall control, but here's something I can control. What I'm going to do in the next hour. What's I'm going to do in the next 20 minutes. What I decide I'm going to do, and who I'm going to ask to support me. So it's, I can control myself and my work, and I want to grow that as well. And then routines beat creativity. They eat it for breakfast, right? Because routines either work for you or against you. Yeah. So routines, pop into chat. What routines do you have that you're conscious of? I'm going to put one in, is how I have my coffee. I'll walk the dog, actually. Walk the dog. I have a 2-year-old golden doodle. They call them Velcro dogs because they are permanently attached to you. Follows me around everywhere. I've actually thrown her out of the office so that I could do this webinar. And my routine is morning, lunchtime, and evening. Take the dog for a walk, calms me down, refocuses me, and it's a routine. So what about for some of you? What routines do you have? Pop them into the chat. Let's have a look. I think, Ray, that's a necessity rather than a routine. But yes, it's like, boom, what am I going to do? How I make my breakfast, what I get to drink first thing is a routine. And what it's doing for you is it's calming the nervous system. It's saying, I know it's a safe environment. I know what I'm going to be doing, and it calms us down so we can then focus on the more complicated. Love it. Wake up routines. Vinny, you write your days out. Loving that. Yeah, loving it. Wordle, watch out, Jill. Oh, the good thing about Wordle is you can only do it once a day. Perfect, right? It's not like Facebook, doesn't soak up your time. So yeah, things that are one-offs are really good. Sorry, Jen, hitting snooze for 10 minutes is a routine. Well, it is a routine, but it's what we call a subconscious routine. Yeah, and I know you put a little smiley face on that, right? We do that, we hit snooze, but it's our subconscious making up the routine. And sometimes they help us and sometimes they hinder us. So routines are going to happen. You naturally make those up. To be good at prioritization is you've got to take control of those and decide, is this helping me to be productive? Is this a routine that I can do automatically that helps me get through my work really quickly? Set it up and do it again. Like I said, routines eat being creative for breakfast because you'll always do it. Your system automatically does it. Okay, so they're the 3 mindsets to think of. Okay, Emily, we need to have a coaching session. That's a lot of apps that you're doing there. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. All right, here we go. So that's a little bit about mindsets. If you don't think about how you're organizing your day, then you can't select the tools that will be most helpful to you. Okay, and that's really the first point. The first piece of the puzzle is this, is that where do I need to take control? So no matter what your work, there is a starting point, and then you pick tools that work for you. And the 3 Ps, some people might have heard of this before. Projects, people, and priorities. Yeah. Really, the thing with this is that prioritization, it's really, you need to be prioritizing what projects you're working on or what pieces of work. They don't have to be projects. Your objectives, your goals. What are the key things I should be working on? It's the first thing to do. Yeah, because you will get distracted with the small things throughout the day. The longer you sit where people can find you, It's terrible, right? They'll come and they'll interrupt you with their priorities and you'll forget yours. But if you know, okay, these are the 3 or the 5 things I'm working on, when you're finished being interrupted, you come back to, okay, what was I doing? Okay, it brings you, anchors you. So you're not just spinning your wheels or looking at Facebook or TikTok. One of those wonderful things. I don't think this is really a TikTok audience, but you know, mention it nonetheless. Yeah, so that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to be thinking about who you're talking to, the people. Yeah. Is the person I'm talking to helping to achieve something with me? Helping me to achieve the overall objectives? Do I need to speak to someone to put them on track to help me achieve something? Do I need to chase up someone who hasn't given me the information in order to finish off my piece of work? So it's being very strategic about who do I need to talk to and who do I can be like, okay, this person, it's nice to talk to this person, but it's really not helping me be productive. Yeah. Don't be rude. Don't come off this call this afternoon and say, well, Michael said it's okay to be rude. Get out of my office because you're not adding any value, any productivity. Don't do that. A little rude, but you could definitely think about, okay, this is a nice conversation. When it's finished, what I want to get back to. Okay. And that's the control mindset, that I can control my time, and then which you can build routines in as well. So focus on what are the big pieces of work you need to do. Who should I be talking to? Who owes me something? Who's waiting on me? And is it related to the work overall? And lastly is, what are my priorities? What are the top 5 priorities I must do today? If you've always got those focused, rather than going and checking your email, you should be going to say, okay, what's on my prioritization list? Yeah. Who checks emails all the time? Yeah. How often do you check emails? Think about it. Put a minute, put your timer into chat. Mine pops up. So it actually is whenever someone sends me an email, it's there. So I would say every 5 minutes. You know, I'm going to put that in there. What do we got here? Every 10 minutes, I've got 5 minutes, 30. I respond when something pops up. Yeah. Ding. Who hears the switch that ding off? Who said that? It goes ding. Notifications. So the first thing that email is doing is it's drawing yourself away from all of this focus. It's drawing to other people's agendas and they come up randomly. Okay. So I have a challenge for everyone who feels that it pops up all the time and I just respond when I see it. It's very random. Okay, very random. What I say is switch off all of those alerts when emails come in. Switch them all off, your phone and that. How does that make you feel when I said that to you? Thumbs up if you feel good, or press the tick emoji thing, or a cross, nervous, or put it in chat. Nervous, anxious, disconnected. All right. I will say this, is that I once coached a very senior leader who stayed up till quite late, into the early hours of the morning. Yeah. And he worked at Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank is one of my larger clients for many years now. And I work on different projects for them. And he said to me, I respond to all my emails. And I thought, well, this is an itch I have to scratch. I'm going to have to ask this gentleman, what on earth are you doing? They receive hundreds of emails. So he was staying up to past midnight, replying to all his managers on emails he was CC'd on in order to give them his opinion of how they could do their job, how they could actually respond. Here's what I think you should do. Here's how I can help you. And he was very proud of this because his value was to support his team. Totally wrong. I challenged him to not answer any CC'd emails. If you're not directly emailed, it's usually someone else's responsibility. Yeah. And then if you want to save those CC'd emails under your projects, because it might be information that you want, move them across to a folder that's got whatever the piece of work you're working on. Start some new folders with all of those in. And he didn't like this. Really didn't like. He was quite upset with me. said a few things. And I said, well, we're not talking anymore until you've done it. So how long do you think you could do this for? A couple of days. All right, a couple of days. I checked in and he said it actually worked. I said, did anything catch fire? No, nothing did. So we have to get out of this mindset that when an email pops up, I have to answer it. I'm not saying don't answer it. I'm saying plan when you're going to answer it. Yeah. So first thing in the morning is not the best time to answer your emails. Best thing to do in the first thing in the morning is to look at what you want to get done today and do at least one of your priorities first, then check your email. There is another reason to check your email in a minute. So getting control of your email is a control mindset. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to come in every half an hour, I'm going to check my emails to see if there's anything there. And I will spend 5 minutes answering anything that's urgent, okay? Or I will prioritize other stuff onto my list. Try that if you're answering emails all the time. People do not need an instant response from you, yeah? Unless it's urgent and it's your boss. All right, again, Michael didn't say get fired. Michael said be more productive, all right? So that's the first thing is like, email. All of these anxious, that's all coming from a world of expecting people to reply. Back in the old days, I'm showing my age, it used to be the phone because we didn't have email outside of an organization. So when that phone would ring, I remember that. My first job at Barclays Bank when I was 19, the speed at which people picked up the phone. Like you have to answer the phone in 3 rings, has transferred into we have to answer the email instantly as soon as we see it. That is not going to help be productive. So that's my first one of the keys. Okay. All right. I have a productivity planner for you. We're not going to do that today, but I'm just going to very quickly run through it and you'll get it in the slide deck. So I spend a lot of time with people working them through their work and using this 1-page productivity planner. Okay. For those of you who like the theory and like to know where these things come from, this comes from a guy called Brendan Burchard. And Brendan Burchard, love him or hate him, he's a bit Tony Robbins, high performance coach, but he has some really good tools. So if you put 1-page productivity planner into Google and Brendan Burchard or high performance planner, it'll bring up an older video of him walking through how you do this. Okay. And my shortened version is very simply this. What are the main things you're working on? And then split each one. In order to have achieved this main thing, I need to have done X, Y, Z. So you're breaking down your projects into what you need to do. I need to talk to so-and-so. I need to spend some time researching. I've got to do the slide deck or whatever it might be. Yeah. So once you've broken it down, each one of those become tasks that you can do. And you slot those in throughout your day. Yeah. The second one is actually my most important one. Who am I waiting for and who's waiting on me? That's how you prioritize your emails. So in the morning, I'll look at who am I waiting on? I'll open up my emails, be careful with this. I open up my emails and I look for Teape. Teape hasn't responded to me on this really important project. And where is the email? So that's the first thing I'm going to do is look for Teape. If she's not there, I'll do a quick response. So, hi, how are you? I'll be really nice because I really want this from Teape. And then I'll get her, I'll say, hey, could you do that? Because I need that today, please. Yeah, big please face emoji, what have you on there. All right. So I've dealt with it. Who am I waiting on? Not there yet. Send a chaser, close your email. Yeah, down. So that's using email with purpose. And the other thing is making sure you're tracking people who you need to reach out to. So if you're client facing, that's a priority list of who's waiting for me for what. And those pieces of work should also be prioritized. And then lastly is what's the top 5 things, no matter what I must do today. So you start your day with one, you start moving through that, and then as you're interrupted, you come back to it. And those priorities really are filtered down from your main project priorities and who's waiting to hear from me priorities. And now you've got a task list that actually works for you. So that's my little trip down prioritization lane. I'm going to pause there. Does anyone need any clarifications on this? before I move forward? Feel free to put a hand up. No, I've got some no's. Yes, other people it might be. Yeah. And don't worry, you're going to get this in the slide deck. Okay. We all need somewhere to put everything. Yeah. Thank you, Jill. And the problem is lists. Who creates lists? Yeah. How many lists have you got? All right. Me. Thank you, Lisa. That was in capital, so you really feel expressive. Jill, you can't have 20 lists. That's an exaggeration. Really? You do? It's like you start a list, you stop a list. I've got one here that made me laugh, and I teach this stuff. Here we go. There you go. Each one of those post-it notes was a list that I started. There you go. And I kept it to show you because I was like, oh, I did this the other day on the train. So really? And I found all these post-it notes with all this. It's a mess, right? So lists are good, but they're no good if they don't have any focus. And that's what the productivity planner tries to do, to give you some focus. Yeah. And it takes a while to get into it, you know, to make it a routine mindset as well. So there are a few thoughts here. Yeah, so I'm just going to pause here for a minute. And I'm going to go to the big screen. Let's hope this works. Okay, that. Stop sharing, Michael. There we go. All right, so we should be able to see everybody again. Can you see everybody? Hi. If you can come on the screen, that'd be awesome. Oh, Keith, that's a new face we haven't seen yet. Hi, Keith. How you doing? Beautiful. Yeah. So this is the thing. There are a few other quick tools that you can use. And one, have you heard of the 80-20 rule before? Anyone heard of the 80-20 rule? A couple of you? No, some of you haven't. The Pareto rule. Well, if I told you this Pareto rule it's been around for a very long time, and that's as much theory as I'm going to do because I'm a big picture guy, future focus. If I told you that 20% of your actions gets you 80% of your results, does that surprise you? 20% of what you do actually gets you 80% of your results. Some people look a little suspicious. Yeah, it's a general theme, okay? It's a general thing. So if you apply that to productivity, if you apply that to productivity, I'm just going to put the chat window where I can see it a little better, because people I appreciate the chats in there as well. You know, if you apply that to productivity, imagine not all your work is created equal, right? Some of it will have a bigger impact on your bigger priorities than others. Yeah. And it's finding those to work on first, those actions and tasks. What can I start? And usually you've heard of BHAG, big, hairy, aggressive goals, or whatever it's called nowadays. They're huge things we need to break down into like segments of stages we need to do. And finding that needle in the haystack's a difficult thing. So I'm going to give you an exercise right now that you could do. I want all of you to do this right now. And that is, I want you to write down 5 tasks, not goals, tasks or actions that you can think of that you need to do right now. Just write them down on a piece of paper. If you're an electronic person, open up notes, put it onto your screen. Just 5 actions you've got to do, not goals. Tasks, actions. Call back Betsy and wish her well. You know, it's on my list. Won't happen today. It's not a priority, but I'll get there. Oh, good stuff. You're all thinking away now. Give me thumbs up when you're ready, when you're done. You could do that on using the reactions on the screen, or you could just do this on the screen. Nice. We're getting there. Only 5, not all your work. Okay, just 5. All right, so you've got a list of 5 actions in front of you. On the other side of the page, or on your electronic notes, and it not lined up, this is just going to be, I'd like you to write down as many of your goals that you need to achieve, and many of the objectives you need to achieve. Okay, not tasks, goals or aiming for. So write down as many as you can think of. 5 is good, 3 if you've only got 3 objectives, whatever it is, whatever comes to mind. Okay. Okay, you're there, pretty much. Got a few. So here's the thing, 80-20 rule. Look at your actions, and I'd like for you to draw a line from the action to the goal, yeah, to whichever goals they help to achieve. Just do that for me now. Draw a line, or if you've done it electronically, just make a note of which actions, so that you can put a 1 for the hit of 1 goal, 2 goals. Are your actions lining up with your goals? Yeah, yeah. I see that. Some are, some aren't, Keith. Love it. Thank you. Good stuff. All right. First question, once you've done that, are there any actions that don't line up with any of your goals? Anyone raise your hand if you've got one of those, or put it into chat if you're not on video. Yeah. Are there any of you actually? Yeah, you've got a couple. Thank you, Jennifer, Keith. They are not your 20%. Yikes, 4 or 5 don't line up. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Is that, and then you need to look at that that action and decide whether that's important or not. Yeah. And that's the trick. My 11-year-old just asked for a pair of scissors. Do you think that was on one of my actions that's going to hit my goals? No, but I still did it because I could do it and come back to this. So this is the thing. What if, Vinny, come off of mute. Tell me a bit more about this. What if my goals are all my tasks done?
Yeah,
What's the
no, I'm
question?
saying like my tasks, I usually go by them daily. You know what I mean? Like I do like
Yeah.
daily. So and then like when I write them down, I cross them out as I go along. So like what I'm saying is if you have all these tasks, like usually my goal in the morning is to bang out all those tasks, you know?
All right.
That's
Okay.
what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, but are they in order of importance, those tasks?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
like,
trying to say. Are they great? That's
like
great. So keep
meetings
making
and-
sure. Yeah. So as long as, does every action help me achieve what I'm being paid to do? Or if you're like me running my own business, does it actually make money? Let's be honest. Does it bring in more donors for the development people? And for the executive directors of nonprofits as well, is like, is it really focused on pushing the organization in the right direction to help them prioritize? So Vinny, yeah, nice job. You got your task. Just as long as they are related and are in order of importance, not just from urgency, Vinny, but from importance. Urgency is I'm getting it done because somebody's screaming at me for it. Important is it's important to me to get this done to move my business forward, move the business I work for forward, move the nonprofit, keep the nonprofit on schedule. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. And a lot of other people were also saying, actually, I've got an action that doesn't go in it. So do I need to do this action? The first question. And then the second one is, what should I do before that? Now, last question on this before I go into the Q&A for the last 10, 15 minutes. The last question on this, were there any actions that hit more than one goal on your list? Jen, thank you. Kit's giving me a nod. Yeah, that's your 20%. They're the actions I'm like, look, if I'm hitting on more than one by doing one thing, Isn't that gold when it comes to productivity? That's just like awesome. I do try and reuse my work, whatever I've done. If I've done an email, can I use that somewhere else? A piece of work, like the presentation I give to you today, is refined from one that I've done very recently for a large organization, Royal Bank of Canada. So, you know, it's like, are my actions helping hit me more than one thing? So they're the ones you want to see if you can get done first. Yeah. So there are some thoughts. So I'm just going to turn back to the screen quickly because I've got a couple of questions I want you to think about, and then we're going to go into Q&A, if that's okay. All right. I'm asking for permission, but I already in my head we were doing it. So sounded polite. Here we go. All right. So what's the point of coming to this hour if you don't do something with it, right? It'd be awesome if you did something great. So here's some questions for you. If you want to make a note of them, I'll leave them in the background when we do some Q&A for a while. Is to think of yourself as, most people get frustrated. Oh, I want to be better, more productive. I want to be more prioritize better. I'm a terrible prioritizer. It's too generic. It doesn't help you. It's like, well, what is it that I'm trying to get better at? That helps you focus, and then you start to pick tools. So you look online for tools to help you with specific things. Yeah. As I said before, you need one place, like a productivity planner. We need to work out what is a priority. I gave you the Pareto tool as one of them. And then it's a list of tasks, like Vinny said, boom, boom, boom. There's this task, and it's just a question of working through the task and trying to stay focused on that. Does it align to your goals? Yeah. Is the work you're doing aligning? Is it really what you should be focused on? That's another big thought. And then how do I make it a ritual? How do I make it a routine so that I just come in and start doing this? Because that makes it easier to do and you can work for longer as well. And also, what might distract you? Okay, what might distract you? I have no idea what that might be. Usually it's this thing here, the phone, or the worst thing is emails. They're the two biggest things that get in the way. So have a little think about that. Yeah. And I'm going to pause there because I've given you a few things to look at and think about. And I'd love to know what specific questions did this spark off, or what specific questions do you have? That you were thinking about coming into this presentation that I might be able to help you with? So give me a raised hand. I'm looking at all of you lovely people so I can see all your hands. And what questions might you have about prioritization or tips you might be looking for? Oh, what have we got in the chat? Okay, Andrea, I wonder about how to get it all done. Oh, wow. Thanks for the biggest question in the world ever. Okay.
Can I clarify?
I would love you to clarify.
Okay,
yes,
so
please.
I see some folks on here who are very used to me, so I apologize to all of you if you've heard this before, but I start off every day with what are the 3 most important things that I need to get done? No matter what else, even if, you know, there's a flood and the locusts come, what are the 3 things that have to get done today? And I will often find, and I use Post-it notes or they're written somewhere, but I will often find by the end of the day, I have been interrupted so many times by so many other crises or emails or you name it,
Right.
that it's 5 o'clock and I am going to, because I don't do work at home, I stay until it's done. I am going to stay here until those 3 things are done. And that I feel like there has to be a better way.
Yes, there is. And you need to be, there's a couple of things. The first thing, the overall is, look, if I don't get it all done, is it because I'm trying to tackle, is my Post-it note task too big? Do I need to break that down? So I work in 20-minute bursts now. 20 minutes. I don't do hour bursts. It doesn't work for me. It's too long. And it took me a while to get there. So I went from an hour to 50 to 45. I'm like, okay, 20-minute burst. What am I going to do in the next 20 minutes? And that made me look at my task post-it notes, because I too love post-it. I got all the colors. That's the great thing about being a trainer. You get to collect them all and use them in training, and you use them for yourself. Anyway, it's not about post-its. The thing is, you break it down into different chunks, and then you feel as though you've achieved more, okay, throughout the day. It also means you're more flexible. Yeah, I can definitely find a minimum of 20 minutes in every hour of the day. And you'd be surprised when you're focused what you can get done in that 20 minutes. Usually I get people to start around 45 to 30, but even then the task is too big. Yeah. The other thing is you've got to be good to yourself. It's like, look, okay, I didn't get it done today. Who could have waited today? You need some kind of reflection on the day. So at 5 o'clock, and you find yourself, Andrea, that I haven't done everything, I was interrupted. Well, who interrupted me? Why was it? Was it an actual priority? What could I have done differently? So you're coaching yourself. Is that, could I have said to that person, I'm not available to 2 o'clock? Could I have not responded? Or could I have responded to the email? I've received your email. I'm going to need some time to think on that this afternoon, and I'll aim to get back to you tomorrow. Something like, could I have managed those relationships better? Yeah. And there's a reflection journey. There's a reflection journey in there. I use the High Performance Planner by Brendan Burchard. Again, it's a physical book with all my hours, and then it has reflective questions for me to be kind to myself. Yeah, give yourself permission. Look, this can wait till tomorrow. Yeah. So if you get to 5 and you find it's all too much, you need to stop and look at it. Why is it too much? Not, I need to work harder to get that done. Is there somebody else I could give this to? You know, it's all these, we have to be a bit more proactive in our creativity to get things done. Yeah. So you're also not going to get it all done. That's the other is to take what's my top 3 out of the 5. That boom, and you have to be okay with that, so you can actually leave, focus on your outside world, because that's where you get re-energized, and that's where your best ideas come from as well. It's when you're not actually focused at work, you're actually doing something else, and then you go, oh, that was a good idea, write it down and bring it in. Does that help a bit, Andrea? Yeah, thank you. I would say, wouldn't you agree? It's a great question, right? It's a real question. And then I've got a hand up. I've got Jen. Hi, Jen. Did I miss anyone else's hand?
Hello.
Hi. Nice to see you again.
So nice to see you too. Thank you for today. This is really helpful. We talked a lot about the interruptions that we get from other people, whether it's in person in our offices or email or phone call, text, what have you. But what tips might you have for those of us who are our own interrupter, procrastinating,
That's the worst,
really,
is it not? Is that not the worst?
It's really tough, right? So there are always those pieces of the work that we know we must get done, and yet we procrastinate it, or we let it slide, or we're anxious about that particular project. We make it sort of bigger in our head, whatever the case may be for folks. But
I have the tip for you.
Great.
If I told you that the brain craves an enjoyment, a dopamine release in the brain, this is the short version because we haven't got much time. There's a whole course on this. Is to give yourself a reward. Look at the clock and say, okay, I'm going to do this for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to reward myself by getting up, going and get a cup of tea. I know that's very stereotypical British, whatever it might be. I'm going to reward myself with doing the Wordle, something short for a certain amount of time. But first, I'm going to do this. You have to say, stop. I'm going to do this piece, then I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to do this piece and reward that. Try that, Jen.
Okay.
To try and keep you in your seat doing the work. I really suffer from this terribly as well, Jen. Easy, I look at something and I'm like, it's a little too hard. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah, that low-hanging fruit also, right? If I can just clear the 10 little things, then I can be fresh for the big thing. It doesn't seem like that.
There'll always be 10 little things. There'll always be 10 little things. So it's like, who's screaming for this little thing? Okay, all right, I'll do that one. And then it's getting to the beginning of your day and starting to working on the really important stuff, because you've got to get into it. You know, you got to work on it. Does that help a little bit, Jen?
Completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. And we've got another one. Is that, sorry, Taz meme, is that correct? Did I get that wrong?
No,
I
you got it.
apologize.
No, you're fine.
That's a small
actually-
miracle. I'll take it. Mm.
I actually have somewhat of a similar question. Interruptions are unfortunately one of the biggest things that kind of get in the way of, like, I create a list, I prioritize what's on my list, but then I often find myself being interrupted with being asked to help for other things throughout the day that will only take a second, but then it kind of all piles on top of the other. And I guess
Yeah.
what I'm asking is, how do I set that boundary, like, to let people know, like, hey, I am working on something. I can't stop I can stop what I'm doing, but it's gonna throw me off.
You need to tell them. Do you need to say, oh, okay, can this wait? Because I've really got to get this out. It's the quickest way to do it.
That somehow
Right.
doesn't seem to translate over, only because it seems like I think the issue is everybody else is also thinking that this thing that they're asking from me is also a priority, and they will for me to address it because it only takes a second, which it really does take a second. It's a small task, but
Yeah.
like I
Well,
don't
you could
want to
say,
you have to say
I
not being rude.
really, yeah. You're up on the scale of what we call the amiable style, which you'll see that a little bit when you do the disc. There's a steadiness section, and that's a person that puts the people's first, and sometimes that actually you're not giving your own priorities. The priority you're giving theirs a priority. So there is that, you're giving me that feel of character, and that's a great character, but just not for prioritization. You have to be honest. You say, well, yeah, you can say, yeah, I definitely want to help you with this. I need to finish this first, get my thought down before I do that. Okay, so can we do this after lunch? You have to be quite forceful with it. Does that make sense? The people will be like, and yes, they'll be my, oh, well, she's always said yes. Well, that's the problem. We're trying to change the ship. We're trying to move. They've already expected that from you. They always got that from you. And now you're telling them something different. There's no easy way to do that. You just have to start doing it.
It's on
I often
area.
And when I worked at JP Morgan Chase, it was a big problem because everyone was more senior than me when I moved to the States. So they would think it was, so what I would do is I'd print out my calendar and I'd boxed off all where I was doing pieces of work, all color coded, and I'd leave it open next to my notes so they could see, oh, that's your calendar, it's full, and they would often say, oh, they'd be like, well, it looks as though you're busy, but next week, could we get together and do this? Yeah, so there are some tricks. There's like always, when you're in your office, they come into your office, stand up and meet them. Yeah. Don't sit down so it becomes parent-child physically. Yeah, I'm the cowering one, you're telling me what to do. Meet them where possible, stand out, come around the table and meet them. Yeah, what's going on for you? So now you're more in partnership mode and you can ask for more of what you need. There's a little bit of negotiation in there as well. I hope that helps a little bit. It sounds as though you do need a big change though. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's my personal approach to how I kind of tell people, hey, I need to just finish working on what I'm working on and then I can help you.
Yes.
Hi, Michael.
I can still help you, just not now. All right. Well, thank you. Tamika's calling time on me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Right at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
But
These
we
things
have your
go
contact
faster than you think.
Yep, we've got your contact information on the screen.
I put that on the screen for everybody. I want to say thank you for your time. I hope this has been useful. Reach out. You'll find me on LinkedIn. If you put my name into Google, I'm the first thing that comes up. So you can always reach out to me. Look out in your email box for those DISC assessments, and I'll make sure you do them within 2 weeks. I advise you do them quickly. Prioritize it. Okay.
Michael, we've said that.
And then we can do that.
I'm gonna send, you want me to still send, as we talked about earlier, everyone by the end,
Yes.
by this afternoon? Okay. Send you the email.
Brilliant. And then we can get that out. We can get that
Okay.
out to them this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. I
Very
appreciate your
good.
time, and you know where I am if you want to continue the conversation. All right.
Good.
Thank
I
you.
hope everyone's had a really good time during this presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at the next chamber event or webinar. Take care, everyone.